Hi, my name is Maria and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make a dish called Sopa de Fideo. And what Sopa de Fideo is like a Mexican noodle soup. And it's a real simple recipe that's easy to do. And I have a pot here that is heated up with some oil in there. And I put some olive oil, but you can put any kind of oil. And the Fideo part is usually what's common is to use vermicelli. And you can use vermicelli, you can use spaghetti, any kind of pasta that you have. If you go to a Mexican grocery store, the Mexican section of the grocery store, you'll find like little packages like this. And these are like letters and alphabet soup, or you want numbers, or you want just shells and little tiny pasta. That is great for Fideo. So I've got my pan ready, and I'm going to go ahead and throw in my vermicelli. So I'm just going to break it up a little bit in here. And I think the idea is just to toast your pasta. But I actually like to burn it a little bit for the soup because it actually tastes pretty good that way. You don't want to burn it too much, but just burn it a little bit. And so this package is about 6 ounces. And I'm just going to throw the whole thing in there. And I'm breaking it up a little bit, but once it gets cooked in the water, in the broth that we're going to have here in a minute, it's going to be separating itself. And so now I'm just going to stir it, make sure that the oil covers it. And I'm going to show you in a few seconds here kind of what we're looking for, because here it's already starting to toast. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to show you a few pieces on top, and you can see that it's got a little bit, pasta is actually a little bit browned. I don't know if you can see that on the video, but you see some of it isn't and then some of it is. And I kind of like to make it a little darker. That's what I'm going to do here. And then I'm also crunching in there and breaking it up a little bit more. You're going to do this for about 2 to 3 minutes. You just want it nicely toasted, and it gives it a really nice flavor on the pasta. So I think, you know, it's kind of just up to you and your taste of how you want to do it. But I think mine is almost ready. So I'm going to go ahead and pour in some water. And so I am going to pour in 4 cups of water to that whole package. But I will be adding more liquid in a minute. So that, just to get that going. And then I am going to show you how to make the broth that we're going to be cooking it in. So what I have here is half a can of tomatoes, or about 6 ounces of tomatoes in here, and I'm going to put it in the blender. And then I have just some onion that I chopped up, not a lot, maybe about less than half of an onion. And then I'm going to put about 2 cloves of garlic in there. And then I'm going to cover it. I'm going to blend it. Pretty well blended. If you wanted to add any chili, you can definitely do that also at this point. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this in there. I'm going to add about 2 more cups of water in here. And so now you're just going to let it boil for about 8 minutes. And I don't know if you can hear it, it's still a little crunching, so I'm still actually crunching it up in here. Once it starts boiling, I'm going to add some chicken broth, and it's chicken bouillon, which is just powdered chicken broth. And so you don't have to use this. If you have problems with MSG, you might not want to use this because I think MSG is in here. But if you do decide to use this, do not add any salt to your dish, because this has tons of salt in it. So you are not going to need any salt at all when you cook this. But if you decide not to use this, I do recommend, you can use regular water if you want it, but I do recommend for the flavor, because you want that kind of brothy flavor, to use chicken broth of some kind, or a vegetable broth. You can make it vegetarian. And you would just put that in, and just include that in your water count. So I put 6 cups of water already in here, so you can include that broth in that. And so here we've got our chicken broth, and I'm just going to wait for it to do some boiling. And we'll see. Let's see how it turns out. Now, one thing I wanted to tell you is if you didn't want to use canned tomatoes, you can definitely use fresh tomatoes. There's not a problem with that. And you don't really even have to run your tomatoes through the blender. I did that just because I didn't really want to finely chop the garlic and the onions, and I thought, well, you know, it makes it kind of easier. But if you have fresh tomatoes, you'll probably want to run them through the blender a little bit, and then that way you can just do it. But if you decide not to do the blender, use the blender for your tomatoes, and you're using a can, I do suggest that before you put any water in, that you actually put the tomatoes in first. And not first, actually, because you have your fideo in there and you're toasting it. You're toasting that pasta. But then once it's toasted to your liking, then throw in the tomatoes, and then throw in the water. And the reason why is because I grew up with that method, and it just kind of makes it a little more exciting, because you hear all that steaming, you see the steam, and then you hear all the oil cracking and all of that, and then you just kind of, it's kind of fun. So it might actually give it a better flavor. I don't know if it really adds to that, but we'll pretend it does, because it's actually fun to do. Just make sure you have your water ready for you. And so once this soup starts to boil, and it's starting to boil now, I'm going to go ahead and add my chicken broth. So I'm going to put maybe 1.5 teaspoons. I don't want to put too much, but because this stuff is pretty strong. But I don't want to add too little either. So for about 6 cups, I'm going to put 1.5 teaspoons of broth. I'm going to let that sit. And I am actually going to go ahead and cover it. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit about limes, because in Mexican cooking we use a lot of limes, and they just add so much to every dish that you use. And limes actually work wonderfully in soups. So it doesn't even matter what kind of soup you have. You just want to have a little piece of lime, squeeze it over your bowl, and each time you get a serving, just squeeze it over that serving, and it just adds to it. Try it without the lime and then add the lime, and just you'll see that there's something about that lime that just really makes the soup pop. And so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of start getting my lime ready for this soup. And so I'm just cutting it in small pieces, because this would be good. This is like really a small little wedge just for one bowl of soup, so you'll need more if you decide to have 2 bowls. But it's always, the lime is always really a good thing. And then also this recipe for me is just going to be real simple, but what you can do, you can actually add to it. If you wanted to add some zucchini, some peas, corn, any kind of like vegetable that you'd want to add, you can definitely do that. And then you can even add, like when you serve it, a little bit of cheese on top, or even cream, maybe some chopped up avocado, cilantro, whatever you want. This is kind of a dish that is for busy mothers who might need something quick to make for their kids, and their kids are hungry, and it's just kind of like the perfect kids soup. And so if you keep it simple, sometimes that works better for kids. And so you might want to do that first and then add to it later if you want to add more flavors to it. One thing I also wanted to tell you about was how this fideo, sopa de fideo, can come in different versions. So the version I'm doing today, I'm going to go ahead and undo this. The version today is for me like just a regular soup, and that's what I grew up with, and so that's how I've always had fideo. But if you've gone to like Rocky Ford or Lamar, different Mexican restaurants there, they have fideo, but they have it a little different, and their fideo is actually made the same way. The difference is that it's not a liquid soup that we would call soup. It is really like just kind of a pasta side dish, and that is considered a soup. In Mexico, we have sopa, which is this, but then we have sopa seca, and sopa seca means dry soup. And so a side dish of rice or pasta can also be called a sopa, but it's just a sopa seca, which is a dried soup. So it's the same idea. It's just if you didn't want the liquid and maybe you just wanted more like the spaghetti style of it, then you can do that as well and try that, because it actually is really good too. So my soup is already ready, and I'm going to go ahead and serve it. So here is the sopa de fideo, and right over here, I don't know if you can see this, there's how you can see like the burnt pieces of the pasta. And I guess I didn't really burn it. It's more just browned. But I would have burnt it if I wasn't showing you the video, just because I like it, that flavor. And then I'm just going to go ahead and pour my lime over it. And then that's your sopa de fideo. So I hope you give it a try and make changes to it the way that would work for you. And have a great day. Thanks for joining me today.